All right, guys, let's see. Here's a cylinder. So our volume is a circle, pi r squared, and we give it some height. Okay, so we go, I'm getting my calculator out right now. Okay, so we're gonna go 3.14 times 4 to the second power times 10. That's our volume. So 3.14 times 16 times 10. 3.14 times 16 times 10 equals 502.4. Volume equals 502.4 units cubed. Okay, in this one, we know, okay, every shape we start with a circle, pi r squared. We give it some height and we let it grow. But at the end, we're not just gonna let it grow, we're gonna crush it towards the middle, so we're gonna divide by 3. We gotta, because we don't get this area anymore and we don't get that area anymore once we crush it. Okay, so let's fill in what we know. Pi is 3.14. Our radius is 2, so 2 to the second power, right? 2 to the second power. Our height is 7, and we're dividing by 3. Okay, 3.14 times 4 times 7 divided by 3. Our volume is, I'm going to put that in my calculator, 3.14 times 4 times 7 divided by 3 is 29.3 units cubed. Okay, over here, we start with a circle because I see a circle in there. Pi r squared, volume equals pi r squared. I see a circle right here. But we're not adding height to the circle. We're not making a cylinder. We're making it 3D. So I'm going to take my 2D, get it out of there, and make it 3D. And for this one, there's that random fraction. Hopefully you guys remember that. So this one is volume equals 4/3 times 3.14 is pi, and our radius is 5 to the third power. So if I do 5 times 5 times 5, it's 125. And when I do this one, in my calculator, I'm going to do 4 divided by 3 equals, and that gets rid of that, times 3.14 equals, so that gets rid of that, times 125 equals 523.3 units cubed. All right, there's my volume. All right, over here, I see my circle. I'm going to give it some height, and I'm going to crush it and make it smaller. So I'm going to start with my circle. Volume equals pi r squared. Give it some height, and then divide by 3. All right, so 3.14. The radius is 6, so we're going to do that to the second power. The height is 3, and then we're going to divide by 3. Already, if I'm going to multiply by 3 and divide by 3, I see a 3 and 3 on top. I can get rid of it, but maybe that confuses you. So volume equals 3.14 times 6 times 6 equals 113.04. And just, 6 squared was 36. So this became 3.14 times 36, and then times 3 and divided by 3. So those are going to get rid of each other. We had 113.0 units. All right. This one's interesting because this one tells us the diameter is 3. We don't want that. We just want half of it. So not 3. We just want to know 1.5. We just want to know the radius. So my volume equals 4/3 a 3D circle. Okay. Volume equals 4/3 times 3.14, and then 1.5 to the third power is 1.5 times 1.5 times 1.5 is 3.375. Okay, 4 divided by 3 times 3.14 equals times 3.375 equals 14.13 units cubed. And if I look down here, I see 14.1. Yep, 14.1. All right, over here, pretty easy one. This is just not 12, it's 6. So my volume is going to be a circle that I give some height to. That's how I make this shape. A circle with some height. Okay, 3.14 times the radius squared times 7. Volume equals 3.14 times 36 times 7. All right, 36 times 7 equals 252 pi, or 252 times 3.14 times 3.14 equals 791.3 units cubed. All right, cool. Okay, let's see. A cylinder and a cone are both 6 inches tall. Okay, so we've got a cylinder. Ooh, that's a bad cylinder. Okay, but a cup, basically, and a cone. Okay, are both 6 inches tall. Okay. And their bases both have a radius of 4 inches. Okay. 4 inches. 4 inches. How much larger is the volume of the cylinder? Well, if they're the same size and the same height, then remember, like, the cone is just the same shape, but you crushed it in. So you lost this much and you lost this much. So that's in our if they're the same size, a cup is always going to be 3 times bigger than the cone. So let's see. How much larger is the volume of the cylinder? Okay, so we find the cylinder is, let's see, pi r squared times height. And then, okay, the other one is pi r squared height divided by 3. We're just going to take it away and see how much. So the cylinder is, let's do this. Let's figure out the cylinder. Pi times 4, the radius is 4, squared times 6. So this is 16 times 6. The cylinder is 96 pi units. I'm going to leave it in pi just for a second. 96 pi. If I divide 96 by 3, I get 32. So like over here, when I do the same thing, but at the very end, I divide by 3, then it's going to be 96 divided by 3 is 32 pi. If I say how much bigger is 96 pi than 32 pi, then it is 64 pi units bigger, which 64 times pi is 200.9, which is 201 units cubed bigger. Basically, if you use the same numbers for a cylinder than a cone, one was I could do that better, but hopefully you guys got that. This one was tough. Okay, a cylindrical ball canister. So we've got a cylinder that looks like this. We've got a cylinder, and they say it's 8 inches tall, and it has a diameter of 2 inches. So diameter means all the way across. We don't want to know all the way across of 2 inches. We only want to know halfway. So if all the way across is 2 inches, then halfway across the radius is just 1 inch. So let's see. If 4 balls fit inside, each with a diameter of 8 inches. So we've got, a ball. 4 balls fit inside, and they perfectly fit in there. But there's some empty space. You could see like over here is some empty space in the canister. So I bet the canister wouldn't have been this big. But you've got 4 balls that fit inside, and they're saying how much empty space is in this thing. So let's figure out how big the canister is, and we'll subtract away the balls. So the cylinder has a radius of 1 and a height of 8. So if I want to figure this out, let's see, pi r squared times height. 3.14 times 1 to the second power, because the radius is 1, times 8. So 1 times 1 is just 1. So this is 3.14 times 1 times 8. 3.14 times 1 times 8 is 25.12. So that's how much space is in the whole canister, the big shape, the whole pink thing. Now, they said there's 4 balls in there, so we're just going to subtract each one of the balls. So a ball is a sphere. So let's see, a diameter, there's a ball with a diameter of 2, so it has a radius of 1. So let's see, this one would be 4/3 pi 1 is the radius to the third power. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. So each one of these is just 4/3 pi. And if I do that, 4/3 times 3/4, 4 divided by 3 equals, times 3.14 equals 4.187. But there's 4 of those balls, so I'll multiply this by 4. And that's how much space the 4 balls take up. Times 4 equals 16.75. So if this is how much space was in the whole container and the 4 balls take up that much space, then I just subtract those. 25.12 minus 16.75 equals 8.37, which rounded 8.37, which rounded to the nearest tenth is 8.4. So that was a pretty tough problem. So you had one big cylinder with 4 small spheres in it. So you took the whole cylinder and you subtracted away 4 spheres. That was kind of tough. All right, a plastic manufacturer is trying to create a cone that has a volume of 60 pi inches cubed. So I've got a cone and the whole volume equals 60 pi units cubed. The customer says it has to have a height of 5. So we're going to go height equals 5. So up here would be 5. What should the diameter be? So how far should it be all the way across the circle? So let's find the radius, which is halfway across, and then we'll just double it. So there's the radius right there. Okay, for cylinders, we know a cylinder is just when the volume is when you take a circle, you give it some height, and then you divide by 3. You crush it. So 60 pi is our volume. We know that. We know pi is up there. We don't know our radius, so we're just going to leave it r, and we know the h is 5. This problem is pretty hard for most of you, but if you got this, you're way ahead. So I plugged in what I knew. Okay, let's start getting rid of some stuff. I need to get rid of this 3 on the bottom, which is dividing by 3, so I'm going to multiply by 3 on both sides, and that gets rid of the division by 3. Boom. And now 3 times 60 is 180 pi equals pi r squared times 5. All right, we have to keep chipping away. I'm going to divide by 5 to get rid of the 5. And 180 divided by 5 is 36 pi equals pi r squared. I'm still trying to get down to the pi, so I'm going to divide by pi. Gets rid of the pi, gets rid of the pi. 36 equals r squared. At this stage, I'm going to take a square root. That's what gets rid of the second power. And r equals 6. Tough problem. Working backwards all the way. Now, that's the radius. Remember at the very beginning, it said, what is the diameter? Well, if the radius is 6, a diameter is twice as big as a radius. So the diameter, which is not even in our formula, is 12. Because we found out that halfway across, the thing we care about is 6. So all the way across is 12. Tough problem. I didn't realize it was that difficult when I saw it. Okay,